Hey, how's it going? My name's Jimmy Rex with the Rex Real Estate Team, Keller Williams Realty. And today I want to talk to you a little bit about the difference between different distressed properties and foreclosures. I get talked to all the time. People want to buy a foreclosed property. That's what they always call it, a foreclosed property. And I want to go through the differences of what is a foreclosed property versus a short sale versus the notice of default list and other different types of distressed properties. It's important to understand all the different types of distressed properties so you can see which one might be right for you. So I'll start out, you've got what's called a notice of default list. These are people that are in what's called pre-foreclosure. These are people that have basically missed payments on their mortgage. Once they miss those payments and they've passed their grace period, they go into the notice of default list. This is a public record that these people have missed a payment to their mortgage company. This is a list that anybody can get, and occasionally these people want to sell their homes, and then other times they don't necessarily want to sell their homes. So it's kind of a crapshoot whether or not, if you're working with them, you basically go knock on their door or you mail them something and ask them if they're looking to move. Hey, see that you're behind on your payments, was here to kind of maybe help you out, give you some options. It's dirty work. It's not very fun work. I've done it a few times, and frankly, I didn't like it. Most of the people do not want to sell their home. So when you approach them at their door at their house and ask them to do such, it doesn't end well. Then, if people get to a certain point though and they keep not paying their mortgage, they fall into what is called the foreclosure process. At that time, eventually they'll get a date at the courthouse where their home is going to be sold if they don't catch up on their payments. That's called a foreclosure, a bank foreclosure. Usually when you think foreclosure, just the word foreclosure, that's what people are referring to. Couple things about the bank auctions. A lot of times they get postponed. I would say 1 out of 20 actually goes to the auction. The rest, for one reason or another, end up getting postponed. People can file bankruptcy. People can make a deal with their bank. People can make a deal with a lawyer to just put it. There's a million different things that can stop that process. And so there are a lot of homes that still go through the process. But the problem is, unless you're doing it full time, going to the auction every day, running the comps and the numbers, the comparables on these properties, it gets very difficult to find and to acquire one of these deals. A couple other things about the foreclosure auction: it has to be cash. So you show up, depending upon where the auction is, with a cashier's check from anywhere to $5,000 to $25,000. It's non-refundable. Once you put money down at a foreclosure auction, on a house, you have 24 hours to give them the rest of the money, and there's no way out of it, basically. So when people go to the foreclosure auction, one of the tricky parts is you want to see the home, you want to get through it. Well, you don't have time to inspect it, and unless you're breaking into a home that you don't own, you can't really get through it. So the foreclosure auction is kind of a big man's game, where if you're not doing it full time and have a team of people that can go see these properties, can run the comparables on these properties, I recommend staying away from it. I have one friend that bought a house at the foreclosure auction, and they poured cement into all the pipes, and he ended up losing a lot of money on the house. I have another friend that bought a house at the auction, but he didn't do the title work correctly. He didn't get that ahead of time done. And he thought he was buying about a third of the size of land that he thought he was getting. The rest of it wasn't actually part of the home. And so the value was about half of what he had projected it to be. So the foreclosure auction itself can be a little bit tricky. The next thing is what's called a foreclosed property. When it's gone through the process, it is a bank foreclosure. That means that none of the investors bought the home, so the bank had to foreclose on the property themselves, and they now own the home. So at that point, the homeowner no longer owns the home. The bank has taken it back and they own it. The bank has a process that they go through. They either sell it in bulk, or here in Utah locally, typically what they do is they hire what's called an REO, or a bank specialist real estate agent. They get what's called a broker price opinion, and the bank essentially does not want the house. It costs them a lot of money to go through the foreclosure process between the lawyer fees and everything else. And then they have to list it, they have to pay commissions. A lot of times they have to pay to get it fixed up. And I think typically they say a bank will lose 40% of the value by the time they get it sold. So one of the things the bank will do, typically they want to sell it quick. They want to get it off their books. It affects their ability to lend more money from the government. So the bank, when they foreclose on a house, more than likely they're going to list the house slightly below market value. Typically what they do is they list it about 10% below market value, and if it doesn't sell in the first 2 to 3 weeks, they lower it another 10%. That's why a couple of years ago, 2009, 2010, 2011, even 2012, when you saw these homes listed on the MLS with a what's called a REO agent, real estate owned or bank owned property agent, those agents had all the best inventory because they had listings that the bank had purposely undervalued by 10 to 20% on the open market. That's typically where you want to focus to buy a foreclosure if you're buying a foreclosed property. Reason why, number one, you can actually do an inspection. The bank's probably not going to fix anything, but you can at least know the house doesn't have major issues. Number two, you have time to get a loan on the property. And number three, a lot of times these banks would put into place programs where they didn't let investors buy the homes for the first 30 or 45 days or at least 21 days. That way, a lot of times, if you were going to be buying it to live in it, you could get a really good deal on these homes. Unfortunately, or fortunately I should say, in this market today, only 7 out of every 1,000 homes are in the REO status. So during the peak of REOs, which was pretty much 2010 to 2011 timeframe, 39 out of every 100 homes on the market were distressed properties, either short sales or foreclosed bank foreclosed REOs. So we're currently 0.07%. One out of every pretty much 1 out of about every 130, 140 houses is actually an REO property, not very many. So the other thing that we have is what we call a short sale. And that's what a lot of people have also become very familiar with the term short sale over the last 10 years. When I first got in the business, I literally never had heard of a short sale until the market had tanked. But what a short sale is basically when somebody owes more money on their house than what they can sell it for, then they have to still sell it because they're behind on their payments or they just can't afford the house anymore. They do what's called a short sale. And the reason why it's called a short sale is because they're shorting the bank the amount of money they can actually sell the home for versus what's owed. So in that scenario, they can be a really good deal, but unfortunately the banks have made this process super difficult and it takes a really long time. Anywhere from 3 months to I've seen as long as 2 years. Typically you're looking at 8 to 12 months to get a short sale to go through the process. What happens is the bank won't even look at the short sale until they have the owner is in default, has missed payments, and they have an offer on the property. So an agent's going to list it and he's purposely going to get an investor to put an offer in to get the process started. The bank will come back and say, no, we're not going to take your offer. Here's what we're going to counter. Or sometimes they take the offer if it's not too low. So as an example, let's say you bought a house for $300,000. Market goes down, it's worth $250,000. You owe $300,000. You don't have any money to pay for this house anymore, the mortgage payment. You call the bank, you say, look, we've missed 3 or 4 payments in a row. We need your help. We don't want to get foreclosed on. The bank has to agree to a price they're willing to sell it for. So if it's worth $250,000, maybe they take an offer at $240,000, maybe they take an offer at $250,000, but nobody's going to offer $250,000 if that's what it's worth, and it has these short sale issues. So maybe they end up selling it for, let's say, $230,000, $220,000. Well, the bank has to eat that difference from the $300,000 down to whatever is left after commissions and title fees and everything else. Let's say they end up with $215,000. It's an $85,000 loss, and that's why it's called a short to the bank or a short sell. Unfortunately, there's not very many short sales out right now either. However, this helps explain the 4 different types of distressed properties. The market is going to go down again. Hopefully this video makes sense. I'd love to talk to you more about it if you want to get in detail. Obviously, there's a lot of things to take in with this, but it's not as difficult as you might think. There's basically 4 parts to it. Would love to explain more. If you ever have any questions, give us a call, send me an email, or rewatch this video. Thanks.